Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's guest, but we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. I know that's a big surprise. Now, don't hit that fast forward button so fast. These are all companies that I use and have a direct connection to. You should be using them too. So, we're only going to take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to the segment, and then go and visit these sponsors. You're going to be glad that you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Gipper.com. If you're not using Gipper, you really need to stop by their website, Gipper.com. Start creating world-class sports graphics in seconds to celebrate your teams and promote your athletes. Gipper's used and trusted by over 4,000 high school and college athletic programs. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com to get started. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com. It's digital ticketing that offers more. We want to say thanks to Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day. Things like scheduling, student athlete eligibility and clearance, uploading digital forms, communicating with everyone in your program. Home Campus is going to do things faster, better, and it's going to make you a very happy AD. Go to homecampus.com. Just like me, you're going to use Home Campus every single day. We want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their interactive touchscreen, that's right, touchscreen video consoles. It's also a great way to share your school's unique history and your proudest moments. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. We want to say thanks to Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and got little, if any, return? Go to snapraise.com. Hands down, the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school, tremendous success. Coaches loved it, parents loved it. It works. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you found it. Go to snapraise.com. We want to thank Huddle for their support. Go to huddle.com and change the way you see the game. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. But when I became an athletic director, I wanted a platform that was going to work for all of our sports. And Huddle came through like a champ. Our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents loved all the tools that Huddle provided that let our program experience life at the highest level. Join the 8 million users. Go to huddle.com. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We'd like to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their score boards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an AD. Go to sidelineinteractive.com to get started. And we want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your parents, your coaches, your student athletes, you're really missing out. Athletic Surveys is going to connect you. They're going to connect you to people you probably already hear from, the complainers, the gripers, but that's only a small percentage. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders who love and support your program. That's a tremendously valuable tool to have when you're talking with a frustrated parent or your principal or your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com for more information. You're going to be glad you did. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to Texas today, and our guest is Jennifer Frazier. Jennifer's a registered athletic administrator. She's the director of athletics for the McKinney ISD. That's just north of Dallas. Has a really cool athletic background she's going to share with us today. But let's go ahead and welcome Jennifer Frazier to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you, Jake. I'm super excited about being here. It's fun.
Well,
I'm excited to get to know you a little bit better.
Well, you and I were talking, we've got a mutual connection and, she spoke very highly of you. I think she is right on. Let's go ahead and jump in. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Maybe take us up through your own high school and college days, and then we'll take a break. But what's the Jennifer Frazier story?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I am a Texas native. I grew up just down the road in Plano, Texas, graduated from Plano East Senior High. And I was a multi sport athlete, played three sports all through high school, and then went off to college and played basketball at Abilene Christian University.
Oh, wow.
And I was able, fortunately, I got to compete with a lot of outstanding athletes. They were my teammates. And so we had a lot of success. And I just athletics has always been a big part of who I am. And so I stayed on there. I did some assistant coaching in both basketball and softball at ACU. And then when I completed my playing career, I got married and we moved back to the Metroplex. And that's where I became a high school head basketball coach. And so I did that for a couple of years. And then we started a family. And it was at that time where I realized that, we made a decision that I was going to be a stay at home mom. And so I have kind of taken a little more of a non traditional route towards to where I sit in the seat today. I was a stay-at-home mom for 13 years. And so during that time, I did a lot of club coaching. It was actually high level coaching. I was paid very well. I was compensated very well to do it. Fortunately, just was able to get into an organization where literally I traveled around the state of Texas and I recruited kids to play on our team. And so I did that through my first two children and then kind of took a step back and partnered and did some different kind of type contract work within the sports organizations. Was on staff at my church for a little while. I created a competitive sports ministry here in the Metroplex. We love our sports, and so we're very competitive in what we do. And so it was just kind of a different niche that I didn't feel like was there. So helped create that, and then decided to get back in to education. And so when I did that, raising three boys, they were all super athletic. And so I just realized at that time that if I was going to get back in, wasn't going to be able to be a high school coach anymore because I just wouldn't be able to watch my kids. So I surrendered and went into middle school and did that for a couple of years. And then I transferred into the athletic office as an assistant AD. And I just moved my way up from there to an associate AD. And then I've been sitting here as the director of athletics I'm in completing my fourth year.
Okay. Well, we're going to dive into some of those career stops, but I want to go all the way back to your high school experience. You mentioned you were a multi-sport athlete, and I am much older than you. Uh, when you were a multi-sport athlete, did you feel any sort of pressure from a coach? Hey, you should give up that sport and play with us year round, which can sometimes be the mentality these days. Was that a thing back when you were in high school?
You know, I don't, it wasn't a thing like it is now. I think, our kids really struggle with that, especially because we were not playing year round ball at the young ages that we are now. And so I think fortunately, I was skilled enough in the sports that I played that I think I was able to kind of transition from one sport to the other and still bring value to the team. So I think that helped me as well too. But there is no doubt it was not as big of a talking point as it is today.
Okay. Now, was your high school experience, were you, small town Texas? Were you a big suburban school? What was that like?
Yeah, we were the largest classification in Texas. So now it's 6A, but at that time it was 5A. 6A did not exist. So we were 5A and yes, which is the largest classification. So I was very fortunate. As a matter of fact, the year I graduated from high school, that next year they kind of started. I know one of my coaches, my basketball coach, kind of started communicating that there was not going to be. It was just they had so many to choose from that they didn't have to share as much, and so I think it kind of started to get dialed back a little bit. Obviously, I still work with that ISD, and they do a great job of sharing athletes. But that was a long time ago, and so I think it was just just as we have grown and kind of going through the ebbs and flows of what we think is best for kids and what we think is best for coaches in sports. I think we're starting to hopefully understand, as someone who has children that now play college ball, every coach that recruited them, they will all tell you that we want you to be a multi-sport athlete. We want you to be multi-dimensional because it's better for their training. It's better for their bodies. We know all these things. So we just need to make sure that we're doing a good job of that at the high school level, communicating that to our athletes.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so great to hear you say that. Now, when you were at Abilene Christian, and obviously you had whatever bug that is because you hung around and you coached. Um, was there a moment that you can remember, and maybe it was in high school or middle school, that at the time it didn't seem significant, but now looking back, with the wisdom of experience, you can say, hey, that was a particularly important moment in my life. Anything come to mind?
I would say one thing that I think was probably really just kind of spoke life into just the importance of what a coach can do in a young person's life. I had great relationships with all of my high school coaches. But when I went off to college, my high school basketball coach, she would write me letters, back in the day of writing letters, that we weren't texting and emailing and things like that. But she would write me letters of just encouragement and just really what she would just write what she foresaw my future to be as far as an athlete. And I don't think I really truly began to value that until I kind of got later into my career in college. And I would read them, or I'd go back and read them, and I think, oh my gosh, those things came true. She might, encourage me or say that she felt like I was going to accomplish maybe specific athletic achievements. And then to be able to look back and think, wow, these came true. I think it just helped me understand the power of just having one more voice of encouragement, one more person that believes in you through sport, right? Through athletics. And athletics has always been a big part of my life. It is still a big part of what we do now as a family. And it will be obviously vocationally, but just personally. And so I think now more than ever, our young people need encouragement. They need one more voice in their life to be able to encourage them along the journey of life. And I think athletics and just sports is a huge avenue to be able to accomplish that. And my high school coach did that for me when I was in college, not even knowing at the time. It wasn't until a couple of years later that I truly understood the impact of it.
What a great, great story. Now, I know I'm putting you on the spot here. Have you ever shared that with
Yes,
your coach, the impact that they had on you?
I have. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll
Absolutely.
bet that was,
She was also the same one that would grab me up by my ears and tell me if I didn't get it together, I was not going to go back out on that court. So
and that's usually how it is. That had to be a special moment for your coach and for you too. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's go and take our first break. Our guest today is Jennifer Frazier, longtime coach, high school, college athlete, now the director of athletics for the McKinney Independent School District. That's in McKinney, Texas. We're coming back with more, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Gipper for their support of the podcast. Go to Gipper.com and they're going to show you how to create world-class marketing content to celebrate your athletes and promote your teams. Gipper's used and trusted by over 4,000 high school and college athletic programs across the country. It's professional graphic design made easy. How easy? Well, it's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com to get started. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more, but I'm going to. Go to hometownticketing.com. Their team is going to show you how to set up and sell tickets online, not just for your athletic events, but things like school plays, school concerts, dances, even graduation. And here's the best part. Every school is assigned a dedicated client success manager. It's going to provide you hands-on support every step of the way. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com to get started. It's digital ticketing that offers more.
Hey, Jake. Yeah, I think super excited to see that you partner with Huddle and Gipper. We use both of those here in McKinney ISD. And I would just say, I'm sorry, not Huddle, Hometown Ticketing and Gipper, which we do Huddle as well too. But I would say most importantly about those two is with Gipper, you talk about just helping an athletic director be a little bit more efficient with their time. That is what they do for us. And they have been great. We were one of the very first people to kind of get in on board with their services. And then Hometown Ticketing, again, just the partnership that we have with them. I know the ladies are kind of boots on the ground for us. They've become dear friends of ours, and so we appreciate them and all that they do. So I have nothing but praises to seeing about both Gipper and Hometown Ticketing. They're great, great, great organizations.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And again, the Gipper, it's the social media component of an AD schedule. let's say 5, definitely 10 years ago, that was optional. Then it was cutting edge. Now, I mean, people expect it, and
Mhm.
Gipper makes it so easy. I tell athletic directors, and you heard me say it, it's so easy, even I can do it. And of
Yes,
course, Hometown Ticketing, great job, and their staff is wonderful. So thanks for sharing that. Really appreciate it.
you bet.
For our listeners, our guest today is Jennifer Frazier. She's a registered athletic administrator. She's the director of athletics for the McKinney ISD, and that's in McKinney, Texas. Jennifer, you shared earlier that you took kind of a non-traditional path to becoming an AD, which involved working in club sports. Now, in my career as an athletic director, I had some tremendous coaches for our high school teams who were also club or travel coaches, and they just did a wonderful job. But I also know that sometimes um, clubs and school programs can be adversarial, and it shouldn't be that way, but sometimes it is. So, as you were coaching and recruiting at a very high level, what were some things that you did to try and, partner with, say, the local schools where the kids were coming from?
Sure. Well, I think, back when I was doing my club coaching, the environment was not what it is now. And so, I had started in college and did coaching there, and then I did go into the high school ranks, and I was a public, school teacher and a high school head coach for a couple of years. So I already had a lot of relationships established. And then, for me, people just knew it was just a stage of life decision, and I wanted to stay within the game. And I had a great opportunity to stay and to be compensated at a high level and be able to coach, exceptional basketball players. And so I've thoroughly enjoyed that. And I think, again, back then it wasn't as probably as an adversarial as it can be today. But I think just with anything in life, if you're going to be successful at anything, you have got to be able to build strong relationships. And so, at the core of any leadership role, you need to be able to have relationships. And so I think I would just say that, even today, most of our head coaches, a lot of our head coaches, especially in very specific sports, are coaching club ball. I actually like it as an athletic director because it actually helps, I believe it helps sharpen their game. I think we live in an area that's one of the most competitive areas around. And so we have our coaches that are coaching club are really coaching at a very high level. So I think it's sharpening the tools that they have in their toolbox, and it's making them a better public educator and a better coach. And so, so we look forward to that. But at the same time, too, I think it can be done, but it has to be handled through relationships, strong relationships.
I mean, absolutely. We hear relationships mentioned. One of the most frequently mentioned tools in the toolbox. Thank you for using that reference.
Mhm.
Now, I'm going to go and ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot. I know you're a district AD, but what percentage of, let's say, we'll start with head coaches, your head varsity coaches in your district, what percentage are teachers or work on campus as opposed to off campus coaches? Any approximation?
Yes, almost 100%. In Texas, you have to be a full-time educator in order to coach for us. So it's not an option. I have one coach out of all 200 and almost 50 that is a retire rehire. So and that's just a golf coach. But every other coach that we have is currently teaching all day and also coaching.
Wow, that is fantastic. Now, I think I was probably aware of it, but it is not, to me, it doesn't seem like it's the norm across the country. It's certainly not the norm in Florida. Um, I'm going to hit you with another random question. So I promise there's not going to be any ambush questions. In Florida, there's currently, and it's been going on for years, a discussion, and unfortunately, it's still at the discussion level about how can we pay our coaches, head coaches, assistant coaches, et cetera, better. Um, what are some things that exist in Texas that allow you to, have all of your coaches on staff as teachers, which I think many would agree is a best practice?
Yes. Jake, I lost you for about 15 seconds, so I didn't hear the first part of that question.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Probably our sketchy Florida internet here. Um, I was saying that in Florida, there's a discussion, and it's currently at the discussion level about how to pay our coaches more, compared to some neighboring states where it's just awful for our Florida coaches. What are some things that exist in Texas right now? And maybe it's through the schools or maybe it's through the state legislature, but what allows you as an AD to have to hire and keep coaches who are also teachers and keep them coaching our kids?
Right. Well, in Texas, we are very blessed. We are governed by the UIL. I think we're one of few states across the country that actually have an organization like ours, and so they just set parameters, and those are our guidelines that we follow. And so it's not just McKinney; it's all public, school districts. We are going to anybody that's going to coach for us is going to be a full time employee of the district. So now if you're in a private institution, then that's not necessarily going to be the case. They have some more flexibility, but for us in public education, our coaches are going to be certified teachers, especially in McKinney, and they are going to have met all the credentials in order to be able to be in the classroom. And then therefore also they're going to have to also meet the standards, which is all the certifications, the things that we do within the UIL to make sure that they are a certified coach as well too.
Okay, wow, that's just fantastic. Certainly what we would call a best practice.
Yes.
Uh, I'm not even going to go into what we have here in Florida. We have a great state association. Our coaches and our AD associations do a great job. Sometimes our state legislature, handcuffs us a little bit in what we
Yep.
would like to do for student athletes. Let's go and take a quick break, but we're going to come back. I'm going to have you go into a little bit more of your journey of, leaving the coaching ranks to becoming an athletic director, what I call coming to the other side of the desk. So
Sure.
let's take that quick break, but we're coming back with more from Jennifer Frazier of the McKinney ISD in Texas. We'd like to say thanks to Home Campus for their support of the podcast. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day, just like I did. Things like scheduling, student athlete eligibility and clearance. Who doesn't do that every day? Communicating with your coaches, your parents, your state association, uploading digital forms. Home Campus is going to do it faster, it's going to do it better, and it's going to make your job a lot easier. And all you have to do is go to homecampus.com. That's homecampus.com. We want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Go to their website, vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles. They're a great way to showcase your school record boards for all the teams, for all the sports, or your school's Hall of Fame, or simply share your school's unique story, highlight your best student athletes, and talk about all the success stories that you want to share with the community. The website's vitalsignswalloffame.com. Mention the podcast, you'll get a nice discount. vitalsignswalloffame.com. And we want to thank Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and got little, if any, return on your investment? Stop right here. Go to snapraise.com. Hands down, the best online fundraising platform out there. We used it in our school with tremendous success. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it. It works. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you found it. That's snapraise.com. You're going to be glad you did. Welcome back to the Educational AD Podcast. Jennifer, continuing with this theme of, let's say, a non-traditional route to the athletic director's chair, you mentioned your involvement, at the club level and traveling. What were some of the steps or things that happened that sort of nudged you back in the role of in the school education and particularly becoming an AD?
Sure. Well, the only reason I took a hiatus from full-time teaching and coaching was just because I was a mom, and we just made that decision as a family that I was just going to stay at home and help raise our kids. And so, I did that even though I was working, at home. it was not in full-time capacity. And so it just got to a point in our lives where we felt like, okay, we're ready to get back to it. Our kids were older. And so, they were thriving. And so there just happened to be an opportunity. I knew my current athletic director at that moment. I knew him. He had watched me coach. I had coached his son. And so he had been asking me, and usually, typically in the springtime, my phone would ring, and just people curious if I was ready to get back into the swing of things. And so at that time, I just knew that I was ready, but it was not. I just wasn't. I didn't want to sacrifice being able to be with my kids to go back to high school coaching. So I decided to go to middle school, and that was a really big decision. I had never done middle school. Most people that end up in an athletic director chair, usually you go middle school, high school, and then you land in the athletic director. And for me, I had gone college, high school, then went to middle school, and then went up into the athletic administrative role. And so just did when I did that for a couple of years, just I think just probably just doing what I love to do, just connecting with people and building relationships. And I think a position to open within the athletic office, and just some of my niche of having athletic high school experience, but then also middle school, it just kind of allowed me to step into that role. And so just stepped in and just dove right in and loved it. And I think, it is, people ask all the time, do you miss coaching? And absolutely, but I would say that I went through that grieving process when I walked away from it to become to become a stay-at-home mom. So I had already kind of gone through that grieving process a little bit, which is why I did get involved in club coaching when I was a stay-at-home mom. And so for me, though, I tell people all the time, what a gift to get to be able to pour into coaches who then get to pour into their athletes. And so I love to love people. It's one of my favorite things about leadership is just getting to connect with people and getting to encourage people and put them in a place where they feel the most support so that they can then go do what they need to do for our kids. And so that's what, to me, athletic administration is, and why I've been doing it. It's been almost, gosh, it's been 10 years almost that I've been sitting in the athletic administration office in some capacity.
It goes by quickly. There's no doubt about that. And my path was just the opposite. I started out at middle school, loved it, loved coaching, loved teaching, wanted to be a high school head coach and climb that ladder. Ended up coaching college for 8 years, and then became a high school coach and AD again. Um, your background, obviously, you knew your way around the world of athletics, but there's that expression, you don't know what you don't know. When you became the athletic director, was there anything about the position that surprised you, or let's say maybe caught you off guard? Oh gosh, I got to do this.
I was very blessed, and that's a great question. I was very blessed. I worked for an incredible leader, an incredible. Actually, I tease all the time. I think he is the godfather of Texas athletics. I still work for him. He's now my superintendent, and so I still work for him. But he allowed me to just really experience almost everything that there was that within the athletic director role as an assistant. And even though he may have been taking the lead role, I was right there alongside of him. He really delegated a lot of authority to me. So I was, obviously there's a little bit of trepidation because you're going, oh my goodness. I think probably for me, the one area that I was probably most concerned about was just the budget. We're very blessed. And so just managing a large scale budget like I do was probably where I felt like maybe I didn't have as much experience. But for me, I'm very, again, blessed with administrative support in my office. And so I have people around me and a budget manager who she's completely on point. So that's probably the one area that I would say that I was thinking, oh goodness, okay, you better make sure, because what do they say all the time? One of the things that's going to get you fired from your job is misappropriation, appropriate use of funds. So I was a little bit guarded about that one, but obviously got in there, and once you get in there, you just dive in the deep end and you figure it out.
Now, you've been in the AD's chair for 10 years. What are some things that, as you look back, you're particularly proud of? Maybe these are initiatives that you brought to McKinney, or maybe they're longstanding traditions that you continue to nurture and develop. Anything that you can share with our listeners?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I've been in the office for almost 10 years. I've been in the hot seat I'm completing year 4. So I would think for me personally, just since I have been in the leadership role, some of the things I can think of is, we started a 6th grade pre-athletics, which is really important in Texas, our athletics begins at the 7th grade level. So to be able to kind of implement that in the 6th grade helped us tremendously. Just kind of get one more year ahead of just kind of being able to pour into those kids and their skill sets. We started middle school soccer. That was a sport that we added. I've also created something that's called a head coach academy that we just completed year 3 of that. And it's just really valuable. I think one thing I have learned is that especially in public education, it's getting hard. And it's we're not seeing as many people get into it. As a matter of fact, people are getting out because of just like the compensation or just the reality of just that it's hard. So we started a head coach academy because I just believe with everything in my being that if you're being successful for us as an assistant coach, and I feel like you have some of those what I believe are it factor components, then we're going to pour into you, and we're going to pour into you in a way that we can raise you up. And so that has just been so successful for us. It is not just you have to apply to get into it. You have to have a letter of recommendation from a principal on your campus. And then once you apply, it doesn't mean that you're selected. And so it's a small group. We do about 20 a year. And that has just been just really life-changing for us. We have really promoted a lot of people because of that experience. They've come in and they've been better equipped at interviews. They've been better equipped as assistant coaches on their campuses before they get that opportunity because they then understand what a head coach is going through. And so I think just some of those initiatives are probably some of the things that I think will stick. Obviously, even when the day comes and I do move on, those things will stick because they're making us a better athletic program as a whole.
Well, I love the whole idea of the Coaches Academy. We're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but if one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain a little bit more, find out how you do things there at McKinney, or just add you to their network, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
Sure, they can email me directly if they want to at jfrazier@mckinneyisd.net. They can follow me on Twitter. I'm out there on Twitter too as well. I should know my Twitter handle, shouldn't I? I think it's Jennifer_Frazier or boy. I'll have to look at that and see what that one is. But I'll look that up before the end, Jake. But I would just say, yeah, one of those two ways, they are absolutely welcome. I have people email me all the time about the Head Coach Academy, and I will share information with them. I'm where I am today because people have shared with me. And so I want to share with others. And so there's really not anything that I'm not willing to share. I may not be able to share all the details of it, but I promise I will share it.
Okay. Well, we'll get that information. We'll also put it in the show notes too. Our guest is Jennifer Frazier, the Director of Athletics for the McKinney ISD in McKinney, Texas. We're going to take another break. I know that's shocking to our regular listeners, but we're coming back with more best practices on the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank our good friends at Huddle for their support of the podcast. Go to huddle.com and change the way you see the game. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I wanted a platform that was going to work for all of our teams, and Huddle came through like a champ. All of our coaches and our kids just loved all the tools that Huddle provided that let them experience the game at a higher level. Our parents loved Huddle for the way it allowed them to engage through Huddle streaming and other platforms. Go to huddle.com. See why we believe in sports and teams believe in Huddle. Join the 8 million users and turn your school into a Huddle school. We want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their score boards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Of course, we used it for home games, but we used it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. It's tremendously versatile, and the customer service is just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. Sidelineinteractive.com. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest is Jennifer Frazier from the McKinney ISD in Texas. Jennifer, you and I were talking, off camera, if it were, and you pointed out something that I've known, but I want to hear more about. The Texas High School Athletic Director Association, very active, does a great job. I read about their conference all the time. I'd love to attend myself. share with an outsider, how the Texas Association has impacted your career and some of the things that, again, you think it does a really good job with.
Yeah, I think we're very blessed here in McKinney. Or I'm sorry, McKinney, just but within Texas. Obviously McKinney as well too. But we have some incredible associations for both our coaches and our athletic directors. Our THSCA, our Texas High School Coaches Association, is just massive, and the way it supports our coaches is unbelievable. And so we're a part of that as well too. They actually offer ongoing professional development for ADs as well too at their summer conference. But for us personally, the Texas High School Athletic Directors Association, we have an annual summer conference that we go to every year. It is highly attended. It is a great resource for all of us. I've had the opportunity to present at that conference before. I have sat on the TAC committee, which is our committee that just kind of oversees the professional development options that we offer at those conferences. I've since rotated off, but right now I'm getting to currently serve as the Region 3 administrator, that just kind of the Region 3 director for our region in Texas, and just getting to lead out my fellow people that I go to war with every day in this profession. And I think we lean on the THSADA a lot. And I think we have an incredible network here in Texas. I think would all consider ourselves friends. And when we have a question, then obviously, we're going to pick up the phone and we're going to call each other. But what's so unique, I think, in my opinion, about the THSADA, the THSCA, is that they work so well with our governing body, which is the UIL. And so when it comes to legislation and when it comes to things, especially things that might be up that might be possibly, on the ballot to vote against public education, those three groups are going to come together, and they're really going to make sure our voice is heard, to make sure that we are just passing legislation that is going to be pro public education. And so that's why I think just the support of those organizations is just critical. Not only does it help us become better at what we do, but more importantly, just our involvement. We know there's strength in numbers, and so it helps us to just become better in our profession. And also, too, I think people understand that we take our profession very seriously.
Now, you mentioned professional development, and I know that's one thing that athletic directors love to provide for their coaches, but sometimes they don't get the time because of all the other demands of their job. What are some things that you've been able to do as a district AD, and what have your building ADs been able to do for development, for professional development for them specifically? I know you mentioned your aspiring coach program, but how about the athletic directors?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that's really cool about within our organization at THSADA is they offer what's called a TAC certification. And so we can go to ongoing professional development classes and we can become TAC certified. And so that's really important. And I think too, what I have kind of helped promote within McKinney ISD is as we start to identify those up and comers that we know will have a future ability to be an athletic administrator. The THSADA also offers what's called an Aspiring Athletic Administrator Academy. It's called Quad A. And so oftentimes I will offer to those coaches that, hey, I will pay your way to this conference if you would like to go. Just trying to, I really believe firmly that the best leaders, you have a plan for when you need to fill a position. Especially within your top leadership roles, you should be prepping 2 to 3 to 4 people so that when you have to make a decision about, a vacancy in your office or an important vacancy within your district, you already kind of know what your go-tos are. It doesn't mean that you are not going to go possibly look at other talent outside of the district, but in a district our size, we should be raising our own up. I believe firmly in that. And doesn't always mean that we're going to make an internal hire every time, but we're going to be very intentional about making sure that we're exposing those coaches that we believe have those it factor, right? Those tools in their tool belt that we feel like will help them to be a successful administrator. We're going to get them all the access that they need to the important information and to the exposure of to just be around other fellow ADs. So I think that's really important within our AD association too. And then just internally, we do some things like I am very leadership focused. So I offer things throughout the year. This last year, I offered something called Leading Forward, where any coach could come and attend at 6 o'clock in the morning. And we just focused on leadership for 30 minutes. They could just show up. I fed them breakfast, but I just wanted to pour into them so that then they could go pour into others. And just hopefully they walked away with a challenge, not only professionally, but also personally. And so I'm just constantly looking for things like that to do. Again, it's a cup filler for me. I enjoy to do. I enjoy doing it, and then I get to have the opportunity to be around my people, which is what I love to do.
No, I love those expressions that you used, pour into others and cup filler. Great stuff. Uh, Jennifer, this has just been so cool spending some time with you, getting to know you a little bit more, adding you to my network. But we're not done yet. We always wrap up with what we call the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you certainly know your way around the world of athletics, but we're going to take our final break, hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. And when we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 items in their toolbox. So let's take that break. And when we come back, we're going to see what Jennifer Frazier puts into her new athletic director toolbox. Please stay with us. We'd like to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment of our podcast. Athletic Surveys is about connections, and they're going to connect you with your stakeholders. I'm sure you're already getting feedback from one group, the complainers, the people that want to gripe about everything. Well, Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group, but they'll also connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And that's tremendously valuable information to have when you're talking with a frustrated parent, or maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey for your school. They'll let you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We have been visiting today with Jennifer Frazier, the Director of Athletics for the McKinney ISD. That's in McKinney, Texas, outside of Dallas. Tremendous athletic background, but right now I'm going to challenge her to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let her put 3 items in the toolbox. So, Jennifer, what 3 items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
Well, this is a great question, and I think it's a challenge to myself too, right? To really think this through. But I would say immediately the first thing that comes to mind is just I would ask him, "Do you know what your core values are?" I think that's really cliche, but we should be able to communicate what our core values are. And I don't think it's something that we should have to look up on the Google it and try to decide what they are. You should be able to spit those out because I believe if you don't understand truly what your core values are, then you're going to struggle with decision making and you're going to struggle just kind of knowing what path you want to walk down. And so for me personally, I know my values. I can spit them out, and I think it just really helps me when it comes to decisions. I'm able to make them quick, swiftly, and I think for me especially, I keep people first. I want to try to keep people first in all things, and so when I do make decisions, because that is one of my core values, then it really kind of helps me able to maneuver really some tough situations that we find ourselves in as athletic directors. And I think that's probably one of the things that maybe new ADs are not is ready for. You're not prepared for those because you're really going to only get better the more you go through those tough situations. So I would say know your core values, but also be able to articulate them when someone asks.
Oh no, absolutely. I agree, and I love the way that you phrased it. If you don't know what your core is, you are going to struggle with making those important decisions. So great tool. What else you got?
All right. Second thing, I would just say that it's really important to just really surround yourself with the right people. And oftentimes when you're a new AD and you're being hired into a position, you just kind of right, you're just gonna kind of receive what's already there. But I think as you have opportunities to hire and as you have opportunities to place people around you, two things I would look for most important is you need to find people that are strong relationship builders. If you cannot build strong relationships, then people aren't going to want to go fight for you. They're not going to want to work hard for you. They're not going to believe in you at the end of the day. You don't want people following you just because you've been given a title. You want people to follow you because there is connection there and there are strong relationships. And so I think who you surround yourself with, make sure there's relationship builders, but then also to surround yourself with people that have high capacity. I believe that's very important in today's, especially in what we do as an athletic director. It really never stops. We know you're never off the clock. And so you need to be able to juggle a lot of things at any given time. Keeping relationships is the priority, but also too just being able to really offload some of the things that you can do as an athletic director. You need to be able to offload some of the things that maybe other people could do for you, so that you then can go focus on the things that only you can do as an athletic director. That would be my second thing.
No, I love it. And again, for us, you kind of covered two different categories there, but both highly, highly valuable tools. All right. What's your third tool?
My last one, I was just say, just be a good listener. Be an effective listener. I think God gave us two ears and one mouth for a reason. And I think, especially once you step into a new role, you need to listen more than you speak. I think it brings a lot of value. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to just understand the dynamics. You're going to kind of understand who's for you, who's not for you, possibly. You're going to quickly pick up on, what relationships do need to maybe possibly be mended, what relationships need to be built. And, and I think it's just going to help you become more effective down the road. I think, oftentimes I've said before, don't change anything for a year. Well, that's a long time. That's a long time. But I think if you can listen more than you speak, then you're going to learn, you're probably going to gather more information, so that when it is time to speak, you're going to be more educated. And then people are going to listen to you because they can tell that you really have been an empathetic listener. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. Regular listeners of the podcast have heard me say this many times. Listening is certainly in my top three, and it might even be my number one. But I always say it was a tool that was always there for me to use, but it took me way too long in my career to finally start using it. And when I did, it made all the difference in the world. So,
Sure.
absolutely listening. Jennifer, thanks again for sharing with our listeners. One more time, if they want to reach out, pick your brain a little bit more. And listeners, I think you got a great resource here. What's the best way that they can get a hold of Jennifer Frazier?
Sure. I think I mentioned Twitter earlier. You can follow me on Twitter. It's at Jennifer Fraze, FRAZ 25, at Jennifer Fraze 25. And then if not, just feel free to email me. My email is jfrazier, FRAZIER, at McKinneyISD.net. And you are welcome to reach out anytime. Would love to connect.
Well, Jennifer, thanks again for sharing with our listeners, and all the best moving forward. I'm going to guess Texas has a very busy spring sports schedule, just like Florida and many other states do. And thanks again for being on the program.
Absolutely. Thank you for what you do, Jake. It's important. So thanks for being an encouragement to our profession.
Oh, you're very nice. I just have a great time. Um, for listeners, we appreciate you listening. And just a reminder, we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day with best practices. So come back next time for more great information for athletic directors, coaches, and leaders on the Educational AD Podcast.